Once there was a man named Rafiq who sat every morning on the same cracked pavement beside the old mosque in a dusty town. His back was bent from years of begging, his hands trembling slightly as he held out a small tin bowl, waiting for coins that might never come. The sun was his companion and the dust his blanket. He was known as Rafiq the beggar, and though people passed him daily, no one truly saw him. To most, he was invisible, a shadow that never changed, a man who had given up on life. Every morning, as the city awoke, Rafiq watched men rushing to work, women opening shops, children in clean uniforms walking to school. He would watch them and sigh. Some are born lucky, he would mutter. God gives them everything and leaves others like me with nothing. His words were always the same. The world, he thought, was unfair, and he was its forgotten soul. One afternoon, as the heat shimmered across the street, a well-dressed old man stopped in front of Rafiq. He looked at him not with pity, but with curiosity. "How long have you been sitting here?" the man asked. Rafiq squinted up at him. "I don't count years anymore. Maybe 10, maybe more. What difference does it make?" The old man smiled faintly. "It makes a great difference. Time is the only wealth no one can return to you." Rafiq frowned. "Easy for you to say, old man. You have fine clothes, maybe a house, maybe people who care for you. I have nothing." The old man leaned closer. "You have something, Rafiq. You have a mind, and that is more powerful than any coin you wait for." Rafiq laughed bitterly. "My mind? What good is a poor man's mind? Can it fill my bowl?" The old man straightened up and said quietly, "Change your mind, and your life will change. You think like a beggar, so life gives you what a beggar deserves. Think like a man of purpose, and life will begin to serve you." Then, before Rafiq could respond, the man dropped a small folded note into his bowl and walked away. Rafiq unfolded it. Inside was not money, but words. "The wealth you seek begins in your thoughts." He scoffed, tossed the note aside, and muttered to himself, "Old fool." Yet that night, lying under the cold stars, those words would not leave him. The wealth you seek begins in your thoughts. What did it mean? Could a man's thoughts really feed him? For the first time in years, he didn't sleep easily. He thought about his life before the streets, when he was young, strong, and full of dreams. He once wanted to start a small carpentry business. He remembered carving toys for children and furniture for neighbors. But when his shop burned down in an accident, he had given up. Life is cruel, he had said, and never tried again. Now he wondered, what if the old man was right? What if his failure was not life's fault, but his surrender? The next morning, instead of extending his bowl, Rafiq sat silently and watched people walk by. He noticed their faces, their steps, the way they carried themselves. The shopkeepers smiled even when business was slow. The children laughed even when they had nothing more than a piece of bread. It struck him that maybe wealth was not only in coins, but in the spirit that refused to be defeated. He looked at his hands, still strong enough to work, though rough and scarred. That thought alone was new. For years, he had told himself he was too old, too poor, too broken. But was that truth, or a story he had repeated until it became his cage? That evening, Rafiq walked to the marketplace and found an old carpenter he once knew. "Do you remember me?" Rafiq asked. The man looked at him closely. "Rafiq, I thought you were dead." "Not dead," Rafiq said quietly. "Just asleep." The carpenter laughed, though his eyes softened. "What brings you here?" Rafiq hesitated. "I want to work again. Even if it's small jobs, sweeping, sanding, carrying wood. Anything." The man scratched his beard. "You're serious?" "Yes," Rafiq said. "But I don't want charity. I'll earn every coin." The carpenter nodded. "Then come tomorrow. I can use another pair of hands." That night, Rafiq felt something he had forgotten: hope. When dawn came, instead of heading to his usual spot, he walked to the workshop. The scent of fresh wood filled the air, and for the first time in years, he picked up a hammer. His hands trembled, not from weakness, but from emotion. Days turned into weeks. His back straightened, his clothes got cleaner, and his eyes gained a quiet fire. He started earning small wages, enough to buy food and save a few coins. Every evening, He would look at the sky and whisper, "Thank you for another chance." But one day, as he walked home, he saw another beggar sitting where he once sat. The man looked weary, defeated, muttering the same words Rafiq used to say, "Life is unfair, I have nothing." Rafiq stopped, staring at the reflection of his former self. He reached into his pocket, pulled out a coin, and dropped it in the man's bowl. The beggar looked up, his eyes dull. "Thank you," he mumbled. Rafiq said softly, "This coin won't change your life, brother. But your thoughts will." The beggar frowned. "Thoughts don't buy bread." Rafiq smiled gently. "No, but they buy strength. And strength earns bread." Then he walked away, leaving the man puzzled. Months passed. Rafiq learned new skills and began repairing furniture for customers. One evening, while cleaning his tools, he found an old, folded piece of paper in his pocket, the note from the stranger. "The wealth you seek begins in your thoughts." He realized that every change in his life had started from that moment he decided to think differently. Soon, Rafiq saved enough to open a small shop of his own. A simple wooden sign read, "Rafiq's Carpentry and Repair." He didn't beg anymore. Instead, he worked with pride and often gave small jobs to others who needed a chance. Years later, on a calm morning, a well-dressed old man entered his shop. Rafiq looked up and recognized him, the same stranger who once spoke to him beside the mosque. Rafiq's heart filled with gratitude. "You," he said softly. "I never thanked you." The old man smiled. "You didn't need to. You did the work yourself. But you showed me the way," Rafiq said. "Your words changed everything." The man nodded. "No, Rafiq, your belief did. Words are only keys, the mind must choose to open the door." Rafiq poured tea for them both. "I was blind for years," he said. "I thought life had punished me. But it was only waiting for me to change how I saw it." The old man chuckled. "That's the secret most never learn. The world outside you mirrors the world inside you. If your mind is filled with defeat, your life will show defeat. But if your mind sees hope, your life begins to bloom again." They sat quietly, the scent of sawdust and tea filling the air. Rafiq looked at his hands, now steady and strong. "I once waited for the world to give me something," he said. "Now I know the world gives only what your thoughts demand." As the old man rose to leave, he said, "Then promise me, Rafiq, teach others what you've learned. Don't let them sleep as long as you did." Rafiq nodded. "I promise." After the man left, Rafiq hung the note on the wall of his shop where everyone could see it. Customers often asked about it, and he would tell them his story. Some laughed, some listened, and some walked away thoughtful. Years later, people in that town spoke of Rafiq not as the beggar, but as Rafiq the builder. He helped others start small businesses, taught apprentices, and gave meals to those in need. When asked why he helped so much, he always said, "Because someone once believed in the power of my mind before I did." The pavement beside the mosque was empty now, except for the beggars who came and went. But on quiet mornings, Rafiq sometimes walked past it, paused for a moment, and whispered, "Thank you for those hungry years, they taught me to feed my soul before my body." And the lesson of his life echoed through the town. Change your mindset, and your life will change. Because the difference between a beggar and a builder lies not in what they possess, but in what they believe.